morning. Welcome to King's Report for the 18th day in the 5th month of the Heavenly Calendar, 16th year of Chungi. Tim Elder saying it for the second king of Chungi. So the war is on. The war is on between Israel and Iran. And the question now is whether Iran is going to try and drag America into this war. Anyway, we'll get to that in just a minute. All right, but right now, let's do what we always do, especially in these emergency times. We want to keep to our routine. And right now in Chongpyeong, Tennessee, 65 degrees, mostly cloudy, getting up to 81 today, humid with more clouds than sun. A thunderstorm in spots this afternoon, and tonight getting up to 65, becoming partly cloudy with a couple of showers and a thunderstorm, humid. Father's hometown of Cheongju, Korea, in Pyeongan, Pukto. Currently sunny and 78 degrees, and getting cloudy tonight as they go through the night. 63 degrees for a low, 89 for a high tomorrow. Mostly cloudy, very warm and humid. And then at the Cheonryung Palace in Northeast Pennsylvania, currently 58 degrees and mostly cloudy, getting up to 75 today. Mostly cloudy and not as warm with a thunderstorm in parts of the area. Tonight, low of 59, cloudy with a thunder shower towards dawn. And at the Liberty Rock RV Parking Campground in Limestone County, Texas, clear at 64 degrees right now, 90 for a high today. Periods of sun with a shower and a thunderstorm. Warmer, breezy this morning, then turning humid. 73 for a low tonight, cloudy and humid. At the Suncheon Palace, currently rainy. And actually, the Weather Bureau has officially declared that Jeju Island has entered the rainy season or the monsoon season. And I think maybe the Suncheon Palace perhaps has entered as well. Anyway, it's about a month of rain, drizzle, humidity, and very uncomfortable month for human beings. Frogs love it. Frogs love it. And anyway, right now, 69 degrees and cloudy, they say, but they also say that it is raining. Cloudy and humid today with a brief evening shower or two, followed by periods of rain and a thunderstorm late, getting down to 67 tonight, and then tomorrow, 78 for a high, occasional morning rain and thunderstorm, otherwise cloudy and humid. And then the Gunma Palace is in Japan, 72 and mostly cloudy right now, getting down to 65 tonight. An evening shower in spots, otherwise cloudy. Tomorrow, high of 72, humid with rain. And Ilan, Taiwan, currently 80 degrees and overcast. Tonight, getting down to 77, cloudy with widely separated thunderstorms. Tomorrow, high of 92, remaining cloudy with a couple of showers in the afternoon. All right, let's go to Father's Word. And Father, here in the way of the person of completed testament, chapter 3.2.1. In the future, how are we going to unite the world as one? And how are we going to prepare the context or the basis for Shimjong exchange, Shimjong communication? This is the issue. Shimjong, remember, what is it? The irrepressible impulse of the heart to invest love into a object partner so as to experience love and joy. So that is why I am blessing young men and young women in international marriages. He's speaking here in 1966. I intend to. In 1966, he says he intends to. He didn't actually begin, I guess, doing this. Perhaps it was in 1969 with the blessings that he did in Japan, Germany, and the US. Maybe that was the first international blessing. The Kuboki couple was in the 430 couple blessing in 68, but that wasn't an international blessing. They were both Japanese. So I'm suspecting that 1969, 3 years after this quote here is when he actually began. And Father says, this is what God wants. God does not want people who are just sitting within the walls of Korea and just doing nothing, just sitting around within the walls of Korea. He wants everything to be accomplished within the realm of his uh, philosophy, or enum is philosophy or thought. 홍상주의 여자들은, so women the women of communism have as their highest hope to be able to marry a worker. But the young unmarried women of the Unification Church must go beyond that. Okay. Praise God. All right, so yes. All right, let's see what is going on. General Michael Flynn has written a very good post on the what has happened, and so let me just ask him to tell you what is going on his X. Attention. All right, you have our attention, sir. Current situation in the Middle East. I apologize for the necessary length. First, a reminder about war. It is not fair, it is not free, and the longer it takes, everyone loses. Lastly, I speak for myself. I am anti-stupid war, not anti-war. However, when a nation's leadership, Iran, calls for the annihilation of another nation, Israel and America, there will eventually be a price paid. I must say, Israel showed not only great restraint and patience over many years to make this monumental decision to conduct this decisive and very strategic offensive series of strikes, at a level of military prowess and capability that is historically without par. As of June 13, 2025, Israel has launched a large-scale military operation named Operation Rising Lion against Iran, targeting its nuclear facilities, ballistic missile programs, and key military and scientific leadership. The operation began in the early morning hours of June 13, with airstrikes reported across Tehran and other cities, hitting Iran's main uranium enrichment facility in Natanz, nuclear weaponization programs, and military infrastructure. Notable casualties include Major General Hossein Salami, head of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, and Baradun Abbasi, former head of Iran's Atomic Energy Organization, among other senior officials. The Israeli Defense Forces, IDF, stated the strikes were preemptive based on intelligence that Iran was close to producing a nuclear weapon with enough enriched uranium for up to 15 bombs within days. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu described the operation as ongoing, aimed at neutralizing Iran's nuclear threat and defending Israel's survival, while also claiming to protect regional allies from Iranian aggression. Iran has responded with over 100 drones launched toward Israel, according to the IDF, though no significant retaliatory missile strikes have been confirmed as of 04:35 a.m. Israel time, which would be 04:35. Let me see. I still have a. Let me just check to see when that would be on our clock. Let's see here. Oh, I used to have Jerusalem here, and now I erased it. Okay. Okay, so it's GMT +3. Okay. So Israel did is 7 hours ahead of 7 hours ahead. So he's talking about roughly 10 hours ago. Okay. 04:35 a.m. Israel time. Iranian media reported explosions in Tehran with air bases closed and leadership convening to discuss retaliation. Iran's air defenses, already weakened by prior Israeli strikes in October 2024, which destroyed all 4 S-300 systems, have left the country vulnerable. Iran's defense ministry had previously warned of counterstrikes on U.S. bases in the region if attacked, but no such actions have been reported yet. And I think even now, I don't see any action like that on the news. Iran's leadership, including Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, has historically vowed strong responses to Israeli actions, though some sources suggest Iran may opt for strategic patience to assess damage before retaliating, as seen in past delays following major attacks. The strikes follow months of escalating tensions, including Iran's missile attacks on Israel in April and October 2024, Operation True Promise 1 and 2, and the assassination of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran in July 2024, which Iran attributed to Israel. Israel's actions are driven by concerns over Iran's nuclear advancements, with the International Atomic Energy Agency declaring Iran non-compliant in June 2025 for accelerating uranium enrichment to 60%, close to weapons grade, and possessing enough material for multiple bombs. U.S.-Iran nuclear talks, ongoing since April 2025, have stalled, with Iran rejecting demands to halt enrichment, prompting Israel to act unilaterally. The U.S. has not provided offensive support, though it may assist in defending Israel against retaliation, as it did in 2024. The situation remains volatile, with risks of a broader regional conflict. Iran's weakened proxies, HB is Hezbollah and Hamas, and degraded military capabilities limit its immediate response options, but its long-range missile technology, capable of reaching 3,000 kilometers, that's about 2,000 miles, poses a threat to Israel and potentially Europe. Social media posts on X reflect anxiety among Iranians, with some expressing fears of war, though these sentiments are not conclusive. The international community, especially China and Germany, has urged de-escalation. Okay. All right, so that's where we are right now. That was well, he published that 1 hour ago, but 04:30 Israel time, or Jerusalem time, would be about 10 hours ago, roughly. All right, so it's a war between people of faith, between Israel and Jewish Israel and Islam, like Iran. And this is something that Father, as a general rule, certainly does not like, but it's been anticipated, certainly widely anticipated, that this was going to happen at some point in time, because Iran has refused all efforts to make it stop its nuclear weapons program, which, even though they deny it, it's obvious that that's exactly what it is. And on the other hand, over the last months and a couple of years, Israel has been able to essentially strip Iran naked, right? Even the fall of Syria, for example. When Syria fell, Israel went around Syria just bombing all the anti-aircraft facilities around Syria so that they would have a clear path to Iran. And they were successful in doing that. And of course, they've, following the October 7th, 2023 massacre, they've pretty much neutralized Hamas in Gaza, and also they've dealt a serious blow to Hezbollah in Lebanon, and also Yemen. The United States has dealt a serious blow to Yemen, which is also allied with Iran, or is supported by Iran. The Houthis in Yemen are, anyway. And And yet Iran continued to say that, oh no, we're not developing nuclear weapons. We're just developing peaceful nuclear uses. But as President Trump said very well, I think, why is it that a country that has cheap oil and cheap gas feel that it needs uh, relatively more expensive nuclear energy for peaceful purposes, right? They've got plenty of energy, cheap energy. So it doesn't make sense that they're developing this nuclear capabilities for peaceful purposes. And really, not a lot of people believe them. I suppose some people say they believe them, but not a lot of people believe them. China, interesting that China is calling for de-escalation. China, of course, is allied with Iran. Maybe it's just virtue signaling on the part of China, and perhaps secretly they are very happy that this is going on. As I think I mentioned yesterday, China would certainly like to see the United States pinned down in the Middle East in a war with Iran, or involved in a war between Israel and Iran, so that they will be more free to do military adventures in East Asia, both with relationship to Taiwan and in relationship to the South China Sea, and et cetera, et cetera. In relationship to the Philippines, perhaps, so forth. Also maybe in relationship to India. India and China have been sort of throwing sticks and stones at each other in the Himalayas. I'm sorry, I shouldn't laugh, but I would come on. It's funny. The two armies have been throwing stones at each other in the Himalayas. I'm sorry, that's just funny. Well, I guess if you're going to have a war, yeah, why not? Why not ban guns and knives, and RPGs and everything else, and just throw rocks at each other? Maybe they're onto something. Maybe they're onto something. I don't know. Okay. Oh well. All right. I'm sorry. Let's get serious again here. It's very serious. All right. So right now the markets are reacting, as you would expect. Oil prices have surged more than 8%, and here is how the Dow reacted, just to show you. We got bombed itself, although it's recovering a bit, and perhaps this is because Iran has not carried out its threat to attack U.S. bases quite yet, and also perhaps because the 100 drones that were sent against Israel were ineffective. So perhaps people are beginning to think, well, maybe this is the end of it. So anyway, this is the Dow futures right now, and we'll see how they open. But right now, at least, the Dow is down quite a bit. Gold is up, as you might expect, and usually that happens when the wars break out like this. People like to go to gold. It's a safe haven asset. Bitcoin is down together with the stock market, close to 1%, and so forth. And so that's how investors are reacting this morning. The dollar is up a little bit, about 2/3%, and the dollar is up against most currencies. These red downward arrows, these represent dollar strength, not dollar weakness, whereas these green arrows, upward green arrows, also represent dollar strength. So the dollar is up against every currency except for the Russian ruble for some reason, and dollar is down 0.61% against the Russian ruble this morning. But in every other currency, the dollar is up. So again, that's because in times like this, people like to put their money into dollar-denominated assets. They're considered to be relatively safe in times of war like this. So, all right. So let's look at some of the headlines that we see here regarding this. And New York Times: Israel strikes Iran's nuclear program, killing top military officials. They're giving live updates. The Guardian, okay, and that's our favorite Marxist paper in the UK. What has Israel hit in Iran, and who were the generals and nuclear scientists killed? Some nuclear scientists apparently were killed. And also the Guardian, Israel launches strikes on dozens of sites in Iran targeting nuclear program. And U.S. official warns of mass casualty retaliation by Iran. And, U.S. officials, so not even S, not even a plural, just one lone U.S. official is warning of a mass casualty event. Well, what have I been telling you? Don't go to football games. Haven't I been telling you that? Don't go to the Super Bowl. Don't go to these large events where terrorists can go and rack up their body count. Okay, White House envoy Steve Witkoff privately warned top Senate Republicans last week that Iran could unleash a mass casualty response if Israel bombs their nuclear facilities, according to a U.S. official and a source with direct knowledge. With Israel preparing to strike Iran quickly, if Witkoff told me, so okay, that's already happened. All right, okay, so all right, so anyway, this is kind of a behind the times, isn't it? So that's okay. All right, and then here, I guess the crash in India is very terrible. I think 240 people or so lost their lives just a few minutes after takeoff. And it's interesting when you watch the videos of that. It's kind of wonder. It's some of the things are strange. Anyway, some people with pilot experience are pointing out some strange things about that takeoff. Anyway, here, and of course, senator was removed by at the DHS press conference. And judge says Trump illegally deployed California National Guard to Los Angeles, ordered him to return the National Guard to the California governor, but then the appeals court reversed that. And so right now, we're on square one. Okay. All right, and so Washington Post, Trump miscalculated on China. Now the administration is trying to fix the mess. Well, we'll see. And we shall see about that. Okay. South Korea silences border loudspeakers to dial down tensions with the North. And these are huge loudspeakers that are set up along the southern border of the DMZ. No, you're not going to get my money. I'm sorry. Okay. Just a word about, people sometimes visit the DMZ and they're sometimes confused by what they see. So I want to clarify something. If you go on a bus, and you come to this sort of pavilion, right? Pavilion. It's right before a bridge and right on the bank of a river. And there's a fence that goes off to your right. There's a fence. It's a pretty high fence, 10, 12 feet or so, I guess. And some people think that they are at the border between North and South Korea, and that is not true. It's almost true, but not really true. The border between North and South Korea is called the Military Demarcation Line, or MDL, and it is actually not a fence. It is not a wall. It is actually just a series of posts with signs on each post saying this is the Military Demarcation Line. And these posts have been there since 1953. Okay. So you can imagine that over the decades, it's since 53, so 72 years, some have been, washed away, some have been knocked down by animals, and so forth and so on. And so some of the posts are missing. And it's actually not precisely clear right now. If you go there, it says, where's the actual line? Well, first of all, no one actually goes there. But anyway, the actual military demarcation line is not clear. But what we do know is that on both sides, according to the Armistice Agreement of 1953, both sides had a demilitarized zone of 2 kilometers, about a mile and a quarter, to the north and to the south. And, you know, there were a lot of restrictions on what you can and what you cannot put inside that demilitarized zone. You cannot have any permanent structures, for example. And demilitarized, you would think implies no weapons, but actually not true. It's one of the most highly militarized places in the world, but cannot have permanent structures. So what South Korea did was that they built a fence along the southern border of the demilitarized zone. And that's the fence that you see when you go to the border, or when you go as far as civilians are allowed to go without making prior arrangements. And that fence is the southern border of the demilitarized zone. And the demilitarized zone goes another 2 kilometers, or about a mile and a quarter north from there. So, you know, some of you may have been to Panmunjom. I've been to Panmunjom in the 1980s anyway. I don't think it's changed at all. When I see the photographs that were taken when President Trump was there, it has not changed. It did not change during his first term when he went there to meet Kim Jong-un. It's one of those places in the world that, you know, is just frozen in time. Some journalists, I think they've stopped calling it a peace village, and that's a good thing, because for a while, everybody, when they wrote their article, peace village, Panmunjom, but A, there's no peace. B, no one lives there. Okay, it's not a village. Maybe, I'm sure it was a village before people decided to make it the place where they were going to have peace negotiations. So anyway, I just wanted to clarify that, so that if you go to this place, you don't actually think that you are, you know, sort of looking down on North Korea there. You can see North Korea in the distance. That is true. That is true. And actually now Starbucks, I have not been there, but Starbucks has a store where you can sip coffee and look out at North Korea at the same time. And apparently it's pretty popular. So if you want to go see North Korea, I don't recommend Starbucks for political reasons, but it may be worth your while anyway. All right, let's go and see what else is happening in the world. Let's see here. What is Netanyahu? Okay. Right. Okay. So Netanyahu is already telling us what we already know. Okay. And right now, well, let's take a look at the. Let's take a look at New York Times. Was it New York Times that was doing no, was it, who's doing the live updates? Okay, New York Times. Okay, let's see what the newest live updates are. All right. Here's the latest. Israel launched a stunning series of strikes Friday morning. All right, we got that. Okay, Israel said its strikes were continuing on Friday afternoon. So apparently even now, at this moment, it's continuing, as Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu described the assault as a last resort to prevent a nuclear-armed Iran, which Israel views as an existential threat. The attacks also killed top Iranian officials, all right? Mr. Trump, whose administration has been holding nuclear talks with Iranian officials, said on Friday that Tehran must make a deal before there is nothing left. For years, Israel fought Iran's proxy forces across the Middle East, and more recently, it has exchanged previous volleys of strikes with Iran. Yet Friday's strikes were the first time it successfully hit Tehran's nuclear facilities, including Iran's main nuclear enrichment facility at Natanz, which a military spokesman said had suffered significant damage. Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, said that Israel should anticipate a harsh punishment. Later on Friday morning, the Israeli military announced that Iranian forces had fired about 100 drones at Israel, as Mr. Netanyahu vowed the fighting would last as many days as it takes. The Israeli military said it was working to intercept the Iranian attack, and there were no immediate indications of significant damage caused by the drones. Here's what else we know. 2 Iranians assassinated. And so the commander-in-chief of the military and the second highest commander after the supreme leader was killed, according to the Israeli military and Iranian media, as well as other top security officials. Okay, and so forth. And Tehran on edge. Residents of Tehran, the Iranian capital, reported hearing huge explosions, and Iranian state television broadcast images of smoke and fire billowing from buildings. Long lines were forming at gas stations and grocery stores. The Iranian government said that a number of civilians had been killed, including children, and dozens injured. Threats to U.S. facilities. This week, the United States withdrew diplomats from Iraq, Iran's neighbor to the west, and authorized the voluntary departure of the family members of U.S. military personnel from the Middle East. The U.S. military has a large fleet of warplanes, naval vessels, and thousands of troops stationed in the region. And crude oil prices jumped sharply following the Israeli attack, with Brent crude jumping 9% to nearly $78 a barrel. And so Israel's attack comes at a moment of weakness for Iran's proxies, and we know that. And so this is a map, I guess, of where Israel attacked. So they're attacking, and apparently they're still attacking even at this hour. And here it looks like even in the city of Iran, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 places. I see here this area, okay. An apartment building has collapsed here, so forth. And Israel attacked a subterranean complex at Iran's main nuclear enrichment facility at Natanz and other essential infrastructure there. The military spokesman, Brigadier General Efi Defrin, said we caused significant damage to this site. And here, 26 minutes ago, the Israeli military continues to strike in Iran. The chief military spokesman, Brigadier General Efi Defrin, said in a televised statement, he said the military also continues to thwart threats against Israel. We must brace for a lengthy operation, he said. We will continue to act until the objectives of the operation have been achieved. And also, they've struck a military airport in the northwest Iranian city of Tabriz, so forth. And here, the strike, Tasnim reported, occurred in the early afternoon. Israel did not immediately comment on their report. And right now, it is the early afternoon right now. It's about 2:30 in Jerusalem. What about Tehran? Okay, so Tehran is 3 hours and 30 minutes. All right. Right now it's 2 minutes past 3 o'clock p.m. in Tehran. Okay. Okay, and here 1 hour ago, President Trump has weighed in on the Israeli strikes, which came as his administration seeks to broker a new nuclear deal with Iran. I gave Iran a chance after chance to make a deal, Trump said in a Truth Social post, but they just couldn't get it done. Trump said that the next already planned attacks could be even more brutal and warned that Tehran must make a deal before there is nothing left. That was an hour ago. Okay, and Hezbollah condemned the attack, but made no mention of any military response. Okay. People in Israel are stocking up on stuff. Okay. Iran is replacing its military leaders who were killed. Yeah. All right, and so then, do we have anything more? Right, let me just refresh this. Okay. That's about it. Okay, that's about it in terms of the blow by blow. All right. But the United States is making it clear that the U.S. was not involved in the attacks, although President Trump was informed by Israel prior to the attacks beginning. And we'll see how Iran interprets that information. Let's move on to something else, if we can. Okay, let's see here. Tomorrow, of course, is the day that the left is planning strikes across hundreds of U.S. cities. Strikes, not strikes, I'm sorry, I'm still on Israel. Protests are on hundreds of U.S. cities. And I want to repeat again, please stay away from these places, and as much as possible, just don't go near large crowds. We don't want the bad guys to make you part of their body count. All right. Florida sheriff warns protesters ahead of nationwide rallies, "We will kill you dead." So this is the kind of thing that we want to avoid, right? So it's going to be very serious tomorrow. And with the United States being, with America being as divided as it is, it's going to be a miracle if we survive tomorrow without anybody getting killed. And I hope we do. I pray that protesters, guardsmen, police officers, Marines, whatever, whoever is involved, journalists, all right, even the journalists, I hope and pray that everyone gets through the day tomorrow without losing your physical body and going into spirit world. But please, I ask anyone who's listening to my voice right now, please just don't go near these places. Just take your family and, I don't know, go on a fishing trip or something. I don't know, whatever, national park, maybe, I don't know, just grandma's house, maybe, I don't know, whatever, okay. But please stay away from these large crowds that we expect on Saturday. All right, let's see here. Ohio's Kent State, lessons loom over military response to LA protests. I think, we've learned quite a bit since Kent State. That was 55 years ago. That was in 1970. I've already gone through the Wikipedia article on this. I'm not going to do it again today. If you don't know what Kent State was, if you're too young to know, or maybe you're old enough to know but you've forgotten, please review. That was really a watershed event for the country and also for many of us. Both sides, actually. It certainly took it actually took the air out of the anti-war movement. I was graduating high school in 1917, and this was in May, I think, right? May 4th. And when I got to my college in September, I found that no one was prepared to continue the protests. They called a protest, I think, and I think maybe 4 people showed up or something like that. It was pretty pathetic. On the other hand, for the Nixon administration as well, it kind of forced their hand to go in the direction of pulling out, which they did 5 years later. 4 years later, I'm sorry, 4 years later. And then Saigon fell 5 years later at the end of April 30th, I think, of 1975. So anyway, Kent State is an event that I think in American history that we all need to be aware of. And learn whatever lessons we can from that. Soros-backed No Kings rallies threaten America's cities with planned chaos. Right, so that's Fox's take on it, right? So I'm telling you. Okay. And North Korea says Repair Destroy has launched, a claim met with outside skepticism. But they, like I said, in North Korea, you can say anything about North Korea, and they can say anything about themselves, and nobody can prove them wrong. Like right now, you could, I can, but I'm skeptical. Okay, you're skeptical, but you cannot prove, I don't think, Maybe you can with satellite photos. I don't know, but uh, it would be difficult to prove that they're wrong. All right, let's see here. Let's go to let's not go. Let's not stay on MSN. MSN is so slanted; it's incredible. All right, so Breitbart also is starting with the Israeli strikes, of course, and Israel declares a state of emergency, and Rubio says U.S. not involved. Right. Judge orders Trump to return control of California National Guard to state, but then the appeals court reversed that. And Marlowe says Los Angeles was founded by Spanish settlers, not Mexicans. Okay. Oh, history is important, isn't it? Fetterman to Israel, keep wiping out Iranian leadership, nuclear personnel. Yeah, you know, what do you think? Do you think Fetterman's going to run for president? I don't think so. Can you imagine a president who wears short pants to his inauguration? Not that that matters, I suppose, but yeah, that would be a hoodie and short pants to his inauguration. That would be interesting. But Fetterman is an interesting character. He's Democrat, certainly. You know, he's supported by the Pittsburgh, you know, the steel workers and so forth. So he's miles from becoming a Republican. But he's also miles from the what do you call it, the crazy wing of the Democrat Party. We'll see how he develops over the next 2 or 3 years. This is going to be interesting, isn't it? Okay. And okay, Iran said it didn't want conflict. Now the hardliners are proven right by Israel. Come on. You know, I think it's pretty clear that this strike by Israel was anticipated, and it had to happen at some point. And let's see, ICE arrests murder, child predators, assailants in Los Angeles amid riots. Okay. But who's going to give them credit? Probably no one, except for us. Declassified CIA files reveal RFK Sr. was a voluntary informant. Well, that's not surprising. I mean, he was Attorney General, right? Bobby Kennedy, Robert F. Kennedy Sr., Bobby Kennedy. He was his older brother was president, and RFK was Attorney General, and perhaps even before that, perhaps he was a voluntary informant. You know, members of the elite, I think, are often voluntary informants. I'm not surprised by that. And Trump issues executive order to mitigate wildfires by clearing the fuel. Yes, the underbrush. Get that out of there. All right. And let's see here. Okay. Newsom hypes drama. Trump shock troops out of control. But you know, he tries to talk tough, but he's just not a tough guy. I mean, he doesn't look tough at all, whereas Trump looks tough. You know, this guy looks like I don't know, he looks soft. And okay, U.S. China trade negotiations, and okay, and so forth. We know about this. Okay, we're getting into sports now. And exclusive Treasury Secretary Bessent is not looking to succeed Fed's Powell. There was a bit of a rumor that President Trump may fire Jerome Powell and appoint Scott Bessent in his place, but it says here that Bessent is not looking to do that. I have the best job in D.C. That does not mean that this is not going to happen. All right, there are certain things where people lie right up into the last moment and say, oh, I changed my mind. So we'll see. Okay, tariffs aren't driving up prices, they're driving down foreign suppliers. Okay, Argentina, Javier Milei visits Israel. And so forth and so on. Okay. Judge declares mistrial on final Harvey Weinstein rape charge after heated jury deliberations. Okay, so he was found guilty on one count again, but apparently mistrial on another one. All right. So then let's go to let's see. Let's go to the Newsmax. Oh, I wasn't sharing that with you, was I? I'm sorry. Here we go now. All right, so Israel hits Iran, of course, then Mossad commandos led covert operations in Iran. Okay. Leaders of Germany, Britain, and France hold call on Iran. And Israel takes the name of Iran operation from a Bible verse. Take it from which Bible verses? Okay. Numbers 23:24. Behold, the people shall rise up as a great lion and lift up himself as a young lion. He shall not lie down until he eat of the prey and drink the blood of the slain. The verse is part of the first oracle of Balaam, a non-Israelite prophet and diviner, where he foretells the strength and power of Israel, comparing it to a lion that will not rest until it has satisfied its hunger. All right. Russia says Israel's attack on Iran unprovoked and illegal. Yeah, Russia is, putting itself on the side of Iran, because, well, Iran is willing to sell its oil. That's the truth of it, and other energy. So Russia kind of needs that relationship with Iran. And Israeli officials, all pilots returned home safely from Iran mission. Okay, great. And Hezbollah officials says we will not initiate attack on Israel. All right. And President Trump convened an emergency cabinet meeting. Yeah, I think President Trump saw this coming. Of course, he had information that was coming, and I think he honestly tried to convince Iran to come to a deal before it actually had to happen. And Iran gave giant middle finger to Trump. Yeah, went to Ted Cruz, okay, governor of Texas. Okay. And Lee Group patriotism flows in Trump. And already Trump's Rasmussen score is up to 53 in favor. Okay, that's the overall support. The here we go, it's 53. And you can see that he's been at 53 or less. Well, he's been down to 50, but then back up to 53 since the end of May. And early in his presidency, he was up to 54, and of course he began at 56. But so right now he's sort of riding a wave of approval right now. Now the strongly disapprove is still higher than the strongly approve, but now that difference is narrowed to just 1 point. It's 38 to 36, 37, I'm sorry, 37 to 36. And we'll see how, this does not include anything from the recent news in the last few hours. And this is a 5-day moving average. And so it'll take a few days for the current situation, the current attacks to be reflected one way or the other in these numbers. But I think it's possible that he may be headed upwards beyond 53 and perhaps breaking the original record that he had at 56 when he first began. So, if he can continue this and hold this kind of support through the summer, the fall, and then through next year until November of next year, that'd be great. That'd be great. It's a long time, I tell you. It is a long, long, long time. It's like, in political years, it's not dog years, but political years, it's centuries between now and November of next year. A million things are going to happen. So, of course, we're not a parliamentary system. In a parliamentary system like Japan or the UK, the prime minister, when his support is high, he can call a snap election. Let's do an election now. I think we should do an election. But in American system, you can't. The Constitution says the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November every 4 years, and so that's sort of carved in stone, and we can't do anything about that. All right, so we can continue to pray for President Trump and pray for his wisdom. Not everything that he does is good, right? And I've expressed some consternation with some of the things that he's doing. For example, the meme coins and the big beautiful bill. I'm not really a fan of that either. Although I suppose I have to agree with Rand Paul that probably it'll have to pass, and you just have to hope that you can make it as good as possible, or at least less bad as possible. But it's going to increase the anyway. Let's not go there right now. You know what I'm saying. All right. So anyway, I don't support everything that he does, but of course, eye on the ball. China. How is this? How is Israel? The situation in Israel going to affect China? Well, if Israel can neutralize Iran in a similar way to how it has neutralized Hamas and sort of holding Hezbollah off, then it's possible that the United States will be more free to focus on East Asia, more free to focus on China than it is now. And maybe that's why China is calling for a de-escalation, for a ceasefire. We'll have to see. How is it going to affect Russia and Ukraine? For Russia, I suppose, well, Russia likes the fact that Pete Hegseth, the head of the Pentagon, has diverted some missiles away from Ukraine and towards, I think they went to Israel, I believe, or at least to the Middle East. And that certainly is good news for Russia. But in the medium to long term, the weakening Iran is not going to help Russia. We'll have to see. And who else? Of course, the EU. EU. We'll have to see how it affects the EU. It could be, the EU will be, shown to be weak and so forth. Pope Leo's first U.S. bishop takes action against Trump migrant crackdown. Catholic Church. Scott Bessent admits he didn't know Trump is withholding cash. Let's see what that's about. He wasn't aware that a considerable amount of the 2025 budget approved by Congress was not being allocated to a particular program under his watch. Senator Mark Warner said that he shared concerns with Senate Finance Committee Chairman Mike Crapo about the Community Development Financial Institution Fund. Warner said that there is an 8-to-1 ratio for every dollar allocated by the federal government. He noted that despite the huge benefit to communities, Trump's 2026 budget would cut the program by over 50%. At the same time, the Department of Treasury seems to be slow walking the deployment of existing 2025 funds, said Warner, noting 75% of them had not been appropriated. So first question is really an easy no-brainer. Can you go ahead and commit, yes or no, that the administration will follow the law and go ahead and obligate the unspent 75% of the fiscal year 25 CDFI funds? Senator, that's the first I heard of it. I will commit to having an answer to you. It is against the law to withhold appropriated funds. You've been supportive of this. If we need to, I can get the chairman to nudge you a little bit, but it is concerning to me that 75% of the funds. Okay, anyway, so they are withholding funds. So government is spending less than what Congress told them to. At least at this point in the fiscal year. And I don't know if the law says that you have to spend this amount of money in the first quarter, in the second quarter, and the third quarter. I don't know if that's the case. They can just save it to the last quarter, just sort of throw a cash bomb, I suppose, towards that program. But anyway, we'll see what happens with that. All right. Okay, Wesley Clark is being interviewed, but Michael Flynn is not being interviewed by media outlets on the situation. Okay, we have a few minutes left. Let's go back to the New York Times. Where is the New York Times? First of all, let me share this. And so let's go back to the New York Times. Okay. Anything new? All right, so this is, I guess, in Iran, in Tehran, I guess. People marched to condemn the Israeli attacks on Friday. Okay. And well, it looks like though that's just that photograph is all that we have. Okay. All right, and then here, let's go also to Fox. Okay, also nothing new on Fox. Trump warns Iran that Israel's next attacks will be even more brutal. It says here that immigrants make massive shift toward GOP on immigration as Trump policies take hold. Right? Okay. Okay, so that's pretty much it, I guess. Well, so let's pray that this situation can end as quickly as possible, that God's will be done. God does not like war. In fact, Father said that God hates war more than anything. I heard him say that. God hates war more than anything. But there are times when God can use a war to further his will, because God works through everything for good. And so let's hope that, let's pray that God can somehow use this situation for his will. And let's also pray for those who are affected. People are dying, of course, and in Iran, so far it looks like only in Iran. But those people have families as well. All right. That's it for today. I will see you tomorrow, Saturday, and by that time we should have a lot more information on what's going on, and perhaps we can report the end of this conflict, but maybe not. Yeah, maybe not. Kind of doubtful about that. All right, so we'll see what happens in the next 24 hours. God bless, Godspeed. May his kingdom come quickly.